Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
All right, welcome to the March 19th, 2025 meeting of the Police and Fire Commission. Our first order of business is a call to order, and the second is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And agenda item number 3 is approval of our minutes from the March 10th, 2025 Police and Fire Commission meeting. I'll move approval.
A second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Agenda item number 5 is report from Police Department. Chief? Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over one. Agenda item number 4 is public appearances for non-agenda items. I don't think we have anyone. We have someone here for later. Okay, sorry, Chief, go ahead.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Go over the staffing report for some of the commissioners that were in here 3 years ago. What's really good to see in our vacancies is more so the unfilled positions, which are currently 6. There's 4 vacancies. Last month I came and asked for permission to, or authority to put out 3, what do we call those, 3 conditional offers. And out of the 3, all 3 accepted. We started the background phase, 1 dropped out. And that one dropped out. That was just too tough. He was a lateral out of another state, and it was just too tough to transition the family over here. So he dropped out. The others 2 are still going pretty good in the background stage. So that'll get us down to 2 vacancies. But the other 2 that are on field training, they're doing very well. I expect them to be off field training within the next probably the end of March, if not sometime in April. What's important about that, going back to the unfilled positions, is that really allows us for staffing to get our officers out on the street. Positions are not filled, that means that's a vacant squad. Or when we have the ones that are out in the field, the 2 that are in training, they're working with another officer, so they're not really counted as part of the staffing. And I want to show you how that relates to our monthly report. If you look at attachment, page number 11, when you see officer-initiated calls for service, this is proactive activity. And you can see how we're doing already in 2025 versus 24 and 23. And part of that had to do with staffing. You can't go out there and conduct traffic stops, and it's not just traffic stops. It might be a park and walk engagement and a business stop and a talk. You can't engage in any of that if you're just, you're short-staffed and responding to a call. In addition, and there is some initiatives that we've been doing, but if you go to the bottom page, you can see the the bottom chart where you're talking about traffic stops and traffic monitoring, where we are this year to date versus last year. And last year, starting mid-year, you can see how the numbers started going up. So I anticipate the numbers are going to continue to go up this year and will probably plateau. But these numbers are going to be more of your frequent numbers, meaning, 3 to 500. I'm saying more like 400 to 500 traffic stops a month is probably going to be more of your norm versus seeing certain year in the past couple of years when we only had 100. And that's good for traffic accidents and other traffic issues, traffic complaints that you normally see. In addition to that, if you look at our property, at page number 8, on our reported crimes in the center section, no reported vehicle stolen. When you're out there and you're visible, it deters things from happening. I won't be the only one for our department taking credit for that. There's other initiatives throughout the county that help. But you're also in the winter months when people leave their cars running, cars get stolen, and there is an uptick. And we've had the last couple of months that were low in that field. So there's some good work. I'm very happy with, we're very young, but I'm very happy with the work that our officers are doing out there in the streets.
Well, and Chief, I noticed there's an initiative, Stop at Red Light initiative, which sounds basic, but in Milwaukee, I think they're dealing with literally an epidemic of people running red lights and the safety issues that go along with that. So I love to see the proactive efforts, at the bottom of page 11 of the packet, that increase in traffic monitoring and traffic stopping. I think it's great. And you can see too, like the number of OWIs that you all are running through. And I don't know, I guess it's probably on this chart, what those have increased, but that's taking people off the streets too that we don't obviously want on the streets. And thank you and the team for all of that.
Thank you. I don't have that number, but we have been really enforcing that on the night shift. And part of that is an OWI arrest is somewhat complicated. And when you're new, you're like, those are things that get dropped off in court. And they're pretty complicated because there's a lot of money that is spent in that field of OWI. Somebody gets arrested for it, they get high-end attorneys to help them out. And when you're young, it can be somewhat intimidating. So it's just a matter of getting the reps, understanding that, going through several of them to be comfortable. And we're seeing that with our young officers that they're now getting past that insecurity point and securing the work that they're doing.
There's also a couple more felony bail jumping charges that are on here, which of course means there are, I think, felons who are on the streets kind of walking around and committing more crimes, which is always concerning. So thank you for dealing with all those too.
Right. And we brought some of this up in our data with some of the arrests. We had a presentation last September when questioned. Proactive work when we're doing our traffic stops, a lot of that is stopping, crossing the red light, or some type of speeding violation. It's apparent, you see it. Oftentimes people say that, when the question is, are you racial profiling? Our traffic stops, the way you're making the stops, we don't know who's in the car. So I often say, look at our proactive police work, which is traffic stops. And when we show that presentation back in September to the council, you will see that it's pretty even on the races that are being stopped when we're doing the proactive work. However, in reactive work, the responding to the calls for service is going to show lower income areas, neighborhoods, and in those lower income neighborhoods, you're going to have educational, economic, transportation issues, things like that, where now you're responding to that neighborhood, and the arrests that we have may show a discrepancy, but when you look at the type of arrest, there's a large percentage of them that are mandatory arrests, and you brought one up. Bail jumping in conjunction with another incident, violation of probation, mandatory arrest, domestic violence, mandatory arrest, arrest warrant, mandatory arrests. So even there, that takes our discretion away when we do respond to these calls in these particular neighborhoods, when we were called to that scene to show, sometimes we just don't have an option, we have to make an arrest. And that's where you may see things that are not proportionate. But on our end, we were sent there, we were called there, and we can't say much about the victims, but the victims, you also have to account for the victim who's calling and making the complaint. If that makes sense.
That does. Any questions for Chief on the police report? Are overtime numbers on here anymore?
No. And part of that reason was, I do have a quick announcement, is Deputy Chief Matt Leahy graduated from the 10-week FBI National Academy course. This was his first week back. Very happy to have him because the three of us, Ned, Drew, and myself, were the two captains and myself were working overtime to fill his position. So we're happy to have him back and get back in the game.
Congratulations to the Deputy Chief.
Yes.
Sure. Exciting.
Yes, it is.
All right, sounds good. Chief, thanks for the report. We'll move to agenda item number 6, report from Fire Department.
Good evening. Not really anything new to report regarding our staffing. We're still at 19 for POX firefighters. Last month I reported that we had one of our second-year interns that was hired by the Milwaukee Fire Department and is over there in their academy right now. So that's why you see that we're at 5 and we're down 1 intern. Not looking to fill that intern position. We have 3 new interns that you approved, so thank you for that. They'll be starting in June. So we're just filling that vacancy right now with other staff on that every 3rd day. Otherwise, we really don't have any new updates regarding, we will have one individual that on April 2nd is coming up on their probationary period. So I'll bring that individual's name to the April PFC. So as far as calls, we were up a little back in February at a 4% increase. As you can see, we were down in EMS assists, down in still alarms, but we had an increase in motor vehicle crashes. And then the one structure fire was a mutual aid request that we went to. Looking at our overtime hours, down just slightly at 428 hours in February, but another good thing to report is nobody had to be mandated in February. So we see that this time of year where everybody is working, nobody's really taking time off until we hit March when we start having people take spring break, right? So we'll see what the numbers are there next month. But otherwise, response times are pretty much the same as last month. We're right around that 6-minute mark. And as I've shared in the past, we hover right around that 6-minute mark. We bounce above and below that just due to a lot of times what we see are the extended response times down to Oak Hill. If we go down to Oak Hill a lot for EMS assists, we'll increase that number slightly for our response times. Otherwise, do you have any questions? I have nothing else.
I do, about the internship and the program for interns. Now that people know I'm involved with the Police and Fire Commission, I have people asking me questions and talking to me. So how does that internship program work? Because there is a person of color that said they were part of it twice and was not selected. Is there some type of feedback, or how would a person know the reason why they were not selected a second time?
Well, they go through a competitive process just like everybody else, and it's based off of we share the information with Sarah. Everything is calculated up based on how they scored in an interview process, and then they have a chief's interview. But we really look at those numbers there because we don't really have anything else. We do have them do a ride-along,
Okay.
so that they get familiar with how the fire department works. So I guess if anything, it's based off of their interview scores, and it is extremely competitive because we have a lot of awesome candidates that come in. This year we had 16 of them. And so, yeah, it's pretty much based off of how they interview and well, they have their application to
And you look at any experience they may have had and
Yep.
things in
Yep.
other
And
areas.
that's the thing, is a lot of these candidates that are coming in already have the certifications. And we're also looking, this program runs in conjunction with Madison College's associate degree program. It's their fire protection technician degree program, so that's their associate degree program. A number of these individuals either gone through the next gen program, or they went through the adult academy. So when they come out of the next gen program, they have the certifications needed and also the EMS certification, at least an EMR certification that we require to be a member of the department. They have to be firefighter 1 certified, which they get that through next gen, and then also their EMR. So that's highly desirable also.
There is a written process for the internship.
There is a written process, yeah. And, you know, sometimes people want feedback. We get it from police officer interviews too. And our legal's advice is that we can't get into like specifics, so we can't tell them what questions you did.
Right, I
You
do
didn't do as
understand
well
that,
on, or-
but something, I'm just asking that because I'm not involved in it, to say, well, I don't know what to tell you that this didn't happen. You know, and I'm like, but what is it's more of a what is the process?
Yeah.
You know, I understand the letter that says, oh, we picked someone that's better qualified for our needs. That's a standard thing. But what I'm asking when I say to let them know is, do we provide that written process so a person would know you did need a certification? There is a next gen process. There is that. Is there any information?
There's a position description that is
that
posted.
says that on there?
And ultimately, it's the Police and Fire Commission that's hiring.
Right.
So it's a part, we're part of the process too.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't know the applicants, we know the finalists.
Well,
You know,
True, we don't get into all of that.
yeah, we don't get into all of that.
well, we see those spreadsheets that you put up on the screen that has the spreadsheet of like scores. Do we do that for interns too?
So,
Seems like
I don't
intern is
think
just
we-
very
I think we just
minor.
showed the scores. We didn't
Yeah.
show, and we only showed up those that interviewed, and we showed the top scores. It was a ranking, so it doesn't give you names. So like if you had someone reach out to you, you wouldn't know specifically
Yeah.
where they fall in there.
I carefully did not want to know the name,
Yeah.
so I
So-
would be able to slip it out. You know,
So essentially what we did here is we took the top 3 names, just like we took the top 8 names for the fire chief. And, I mean, all 16 even got chief's interviews. Why? Because we wanted to give them the experience. I mean, we typically cut that number down at least a half, you know, like 8, no more than 10 interviews, because 16 is a lot to do in a
It
day.
is.
And so they got the interview experience, and they got a fire chief interview experience, and they all got to do a ride-along during the whole process. So all 16 applicants got, you know, it was equal across the board. So essentially what we did is we took the top 3 names and went through everything that they had, and they will be prepared and ready to go June 15th, or June 16th would be the first day that they start. They'll have the move-in, that's the weekend of Father's Day. It's typically when we have a move-in, and then they start that next Monday, or following Monday.
Please encourage a person to apply again and go through the process. I know we only do it, I mean, I guess they've done it
I might
twice
not even
now.
talk to the people again, but certainly it's just been coming up. And I'm like, well, I don't, you know, I know part of the I'm so new that I don't know the whole process. And I know that seemingly it's at the end when we're ready to say, here are the finalists. And I think because it's intern, we just, you know, we look at it and say, okay, keep going. It's not the chief, you know, it's, you know.
There is a
it's
process.
important to go through that, but I wasn't educated enough to say, well, it is a strenuous process. I did remember it was 16, but what that process was,
Sure.
I wasn't able to be pretty informed to say whether, the process is very competitive, so, thank you.
I'll send a document out that shows all
Yes.
the steps that are involved with intern, and then it even includes paid on-call firefighters, so it includes a lot more, so I'll send that out to
The
you.
people are trying.
Oh, great question.
What it sounded
Yep.
like to, get hired. I just didn't know enough, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Chief?
I had a question on the overtime, so maybe it's more of an education piece or a reminder. But 400 hours, 400 plus hours a month, with an FTE position being about 173 hours a month, that's 2+ positions a month we're paying overtime essentially. So how do you fund that? Where does the money come to pay the overtime?
So we have an amount that's approved for the 2025 budget in overtime, as well as we did in 2024. We did exceed our overtime budget for 2024. At the end of the year, what happens is monies come from out of other parts of the operating budget to then supplement the need or the funding to meet that overage for the overtime. So what we're seeing here is we do have a reduction in POX numbers. We're trying to make sure that the POX members that we have are working, are preferencing, are being active. If they're not, then we need to sit them down and find out what's going on. And then once again, it all comes down to people taking time off even during January and February, and then coming up to March. It's a combination of, POX staff that maybe are not preferencing like they should, maybe aren't picking up shifts like we'd like them to because they are POX. We can't mandate them like we can the full-time staff. And like I said, we've been very fortunate that the full-time staff is willing to pick up the amount of hours that they can, and that keeps them out of anybody being mandated. I know that maybe you heard from the fire chief candidates, there's a number of departments that have never mandated. But we don't have that luxury. There are times throughout the year where we have to mandate because we simply don't have the POX to help fill vacancies. Plus, we got to keep minimums when it comes to the contract for the full-time staff. So, that's always a good question every year is how do we combat the overtime issue? And you know what, we tried the city tried last year with a referendum and more full-time staff. And
you don't have anything that's revenue generating to the
No.
fire department, like traffic tickets.
So,
Generate revenue.
I mean, to your point, Sean, I think it'd be cheaper for the city to authorize more positions
Yes.
instead of paying the equivalent of overtime. I pulled up our December packet, and it looks from December 2024, it looks like at least 4,000 hours of overtime that we paid. That is the equivalent of 2 people. That just doesn't make sense.
Well, and you're paying time and a half, I'm guessing,
Yeah.
right? So it's actually probably more like
than
3,
that.
2.5
Yep,
for 3.
yep.
I mean,
that
that
time and a half.
like I said, a referendum did go out, the voters, spoke and, so it's not, that, the numbers are, the data's there, right? This is what we consistently, and I'd have to go back and look at 2023 numbers to see where we ended up with overtime, but it's always been, we've always went over our overtime budget.
2023 was just under 10,000.
10,000 hours?
But we also had a full-timer out on leave.
Yes.
We had some injuries and.
Yeah, 2023 was not a good year for us with
It
injuries.
was out of the norm.
So the city's now looking at another alternative revenue source that can free up money for police and fire. That would be great to spend it on police and fire, I think. I've heard the mayor, watched the city administrator talk about how, the referendum failed, so now they're looking for other revenue sources, and a wheel tax could go to fund police and fire, which I think would be a good use of it, so that we avoid this kind of burnout.
And if I heard you right, Chief, you said that the overtime is strictly career staff?
No, there's overtime that also goes out to some POX staff, but it's a very few of them.
Maybe it was mandates.
Yeah, mandates,
And career.
we can only mandate the full-time staff, we can't mandate POX staff.
And would these numbers include at the chief level as well, the supervisory level? Is overtime
No,
numbers?
these are just what we fill the schedule with for the crews, the operating crews, Firehouse 2 and Firehouse 3.
And your paid on call chief, all the chiefs are working a ton of overtime as well.
Yes, we're really trying to maintain that at a level 2. If anybody gets the majority of overtime right now, it's been our division chief on the POX side that gets a majority of the overtime, which this is why we created the battalion chief positions. And we thank the mayor and the council for a budget amendment, and I want to thank, the 311 Fitchburg chapter had a lot to do with a position in 2024, which was a firefighter position, but we got the council in our priority for filling a needed position in the command staff for OIC coverage was to change the firefighter position to a battalion chief position. We have 2 out of the 3 battalion chiefs that we need, but then also the council giving us the monies in 2025 to reclassify 2 full-time firefighters to full-time lieutenants. So we want to thank them for that. That was desperately needed for that leadership in the firehouse and then our OIC coverage. Because we're also gonna have to continue to look at that, because when Division Chief Wunsch retires this year, that's 2,500 hours of time that we're losing in a POX position. And that they're a full-time shift working position on the fire department is 2,496 hours. So there is one whole full-time position that we're losing as an OIC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for Chief on the staffing report? Okay. Agenda item, well, no, I'm back in January. I lost my page. Agenda item 6B is our closed session. So I'll move that pursuant to section 1985 sub 1 sub C Wisconsin statutes, the commission move into closed session for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, more specifically for the PFC to make a hiring decision on fire chief and emergency management director.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? So one note of discussion for the police chief process, what we did was we allowed individuals to come into closed session and share their thoughts in closed session for transparency purposes, so they're not worried about being on FACTv. And I think that's an important thing for us to hear and have that level of transparency. So what I would suggest is that we as a commission decide who can join us for the closed session. I don't know if there are other people who would be willing to come by. I think we talked about the city administrator and the mayor potentially, and the union staff and all the staff coming in. But I think we'd love to get input. We've gotten a ton of input from individuals through email, which has been great, and we've had a chance to see those. But I think if you all would allow, I think we can talk about what individuals we have come through, and maybe we have a group wait outside the room as we invite individuals through and kind of cycle people. If that makes sense.
Is that here today, right now?
Right.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
Is some more people out there?
I don't know.
Let me go look.
Any other discussion?
I think I'm fine with that.
Okay. Then all those in favor of entering closed session, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. All right, we are closed session.
I'm gonna get staff.
Sure.
We're not, oh, now we are.
Welcome back. We are now moving to agenda item 6C. Any action to be taken on items in closed session?
I will make a motion to approve and extend a conditional offer of employment for the position of Fire Chief and Emergency Management Director for the great city of Fitchburg.
I second.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay. Anything else for agenda item 6C?
I would like to just say thank you to all of the candidates, to all of the individuals that provided feedback, and that tonight all 3 candidates should expect a phone call from our HR director in terms of next steps.
Yeah. Thank you, process-wise, Sarah, for all the work that you have done through this process and all of the things you do for the commission. Chief Grossen, thank you for all that you've done for the process, this process, for taking the chief role in that interim tag. You've kept the department running for a good, whatever it's been, 14 months, and for the second time as interim chief. So thank you very much for it. The city is better off because of you personally, so thank you.
Thank you, but I also want to share the thanks with my fellow staff.
Yep. Yep. And thank you to the individual firefighters who reached out, to the members of the public who participated, to FACTv for the public reception and all of this. It's just an easy process because of all the support that we have. So thank you for it. And thank you, commissioners. It's a lot of work that goes into it. So thank you for that process. All right, anything else for agenda item 6C? Then agenda item number 7 is announcements. Any announcements? Okay. Agenda item number 8 is adjournment, and I will move to adjourn.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. We are adjourned. Thank you.